So I get asked this question all the time, so I'm going to go ahead and address it here. Why is KEG any different than Wikipedia? And the first answer I can say is that KEG is not a service, right? It's not even a site. KEG is just a way of organizing knowledge such that tools can be made both to create, and that's what I'm writing right now, and retrieve data quickly and to exchange that data in reliable ways such that the semantics of the document itself, in the case of text or data, the CSV or whatever, is predictable and can be shared. And one of the fundamental differences between KEG and Wikipedia is that Wikipedia depends on depends on a sort of an antagonistic relationship between all of the contributors to decide what's going to make it into a Wikipedia site. You do not have a single voice, which is a big benefit of books over Wikipedia. And you never actually know what's authoritative because you have people in there that are owning it and changing it all the time. This is why Wikipedia citations are banned from most schools when they're writing essays. Kids are writing essays, which is too bad because there's good data out there. And it's also still kept through a centralized service. So you can't have Wikipedia without a Wikipedia, and they have to beg you for money and all that stuff. KEG does not, because KEG is peer-to-peer, and it's run entirely by the people producing it and consuming it. There is no one point of failure. There'll be keg.pub in places that you can seed the your first collection of user kegs or kegs, and then from then it's more like Napster. Yeah, KEG sharing content on KEG is more like sharing music on a Napster platform than it is Wikipedia. So that's the long and short of it. It does include all of the other things. Also, the markdown format's much, much, much simpler. The entire syntax for a node, and by the way, Wikipedia has no concept of knowledge nodes. It never did. It's really too bad. It's got kind of a rough idea of a document, but I mean, you've been out to a Wikipedia page. They're disastrously bad. And the content that's in a Wikipedia page can't be presented in any number of other ways, depending on how you want to digest that content. And you certainly can't reorganize the content in another way with a tool or something by composing or aggregating together different knowledge, granular knowledge nodes. And that has been... they did. Wikidata tried to do this and failed miserably. Every project that's tried to do that has always gone too complex. They've gotten too crazy with it. In fact, Wikidata, one of those options, I think it was MediaWiki, I can't remember, was actually snuffed out by Google. Google bought it from the guy who invented it. I think it's MediaWiki, I can't remember. And then he worked on it it was his pet project for a while, and they just never gave it the light of day because they knew that it was a direct competitor to the entire use of Google for an approach. And by the way, Google, if you're watching this, we were just talking about, I'm considering getting a PhD in information systems to supplement and to legitimize a lot of my hypotheses here about the best way to share and structure data with actual research, which I don't think much of which has been done unless you're the ones doing it. And I would be happy at some point to go work for Google for those kind of situations, that kind of stuff, on one condition. And we're talking about 6 to 7 years from now, when Google will have to bow down to the desires of the people and stop gatekeeping information. The biggest failure of our current internet is the gatekeeping and control of data. That is the biggest problem. That is the reason we're getting trolling. That's the reason Cambridge Analytica was able to own elections in Trinidad and other places. It's the reason that we have a firestorm over Twitter with Musk buying it right now. It's just going to get worse. The reason that we don't have true freedom right now is that we have too many gatekeepers in the knowledge business, and they're all in the web business, and they need to go away. They need to get out of the way and let people decide how they're going to communicate and in what way. And that is primarily what KEG's about, so that we can do that. It's P2P searching. Yeah. So the whole idea of P2P is built into KEG without some stupid crypto element. There's no need. The only crypto that's needed here is potentially signing so that you can prove that you created the content. But even then, if you ensure that the source is sources where you're getting the content are coming, whether it's from a USB stick from a friend or it's from a website that you trust, because KEG is completely transport agnostic. It doesn't care. It can use FTP. It can use HTTP with TLS. It can use SCP. It can use rsync. It can use sneakernet. It can use whatever you need to exchange the data. And the thing that makes it powerful is that it focuses on the structure and content and authentication of that data, proving that it came from who it said, as opposed to anything else. In fact, anything outside of that is not included within the scope of KEG. And so this could, it's an alternative like Discord is to Facebook, kind of, yeah. And they won't change it. They definitely won't change it. They're making money at it. In fact, if anything, they're going to like directly attack what I'm doing, and they may even block the use of it. The really great thing about it is they can't block it. KEG is fundamentally impervious to being blocked, because, I mean, one of the things they could potentially do is they could say, okay, any content, any website that has keg.yaml in it, which is how you identify a KEG, could be blocked from Google. Google would not search it. They would decide to not search it. But the problem with that is you really don't care. As soon as you have control over who you follow and what you search, there is no way Google can block any of that. It can block it from showing up on their search engine, but you don't care because you're not using their search engine anymore. Now you're using a localized search engine that's controlled by you, that's written by somebody who's made a tool for the user and not in order to control you, and therefore everybody wins. None of that exists on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is regularly used to control the perception and opinions of people on certain things. It's actually a subplot line in Mr. Robot where, you know, what's his name? Moby has, or what's his name? Oh God, what's his name? The glutton guy. He controls Wikipedia because he's made so many commits to it. He can make somebody look real just by going in there and committing something for a day. And then he makes people into executives and then pulls down their pages after that. So, I mean, those kind of resources for human knowledge are massive failures to humanity. And I want to prove it. I'm going to prove it by doing PhD studies on this. My wife, I really kind of hope that she does get into the University of Greensboro, and I'm going to apply, if I do get in, I'm going to apply potentially at my own expense to get a PhD there in information systems and pursue this particular research that we're studying right now. The best way to do knowledge exchange, the best way to promote, to address the problems in our society right now, which are largely based on disinformation or misinformation or lack of research and too many people not producing content who are worth listening to. The people that you hear are the least likely to be the people you want to hear from, because they're usually selling you something. So we want to make it easier for people who make an honest living at a day job and don't have social media marketing degrees produce content so you can follow their content instead of the person peddling themselves to sell you what they have to say, even if they have nothing to say because they have no expertise whatsoever in it. The MFA, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Let me finish this YouTube video.